Kansai, hello. Today we're going to be using the craft kit for the charcoal set. So within your craft kit you're going to have your charcoal set, which includes 2B, 4B, 6B pencils and a white pencil as well as a kneaded eraser. This is very important because when you're using charcoal you can't use the pink or the white erasers. It'll just smudge it and won't actually pick up the charcoal. You also have a smudge stick and a sharpener. It'll tell you the difference on the package. The 2B is the lightest, 4B is kind of a medium shade, and 6B gives you your darker tones, whereas the white is really good to use on gray paper or brown paper. So we're going to do a two-part video. The first one is going to be a beginner's rose. So we're going to do a little bit simpler and then go from there. So I'm going to start with a 2B pencil because it's lighter, and so if I need to make or fix it or erase, it's easier to pick up with the eraser. So start with our 2B. So our first step is we're going to draw kind of like a fancy S. Doesn't have to be perfect because roses are organic. So okay, so that's our S. I'm making it more of a round because this is the bulb of our rose. Okay, so you have your S. Next, we're going to add on some more lines. So you're going to follow your initial beginning. You're going to pull out, kind of dip in, and create kind of a little tail there. So you have that tail, and then you're just going to pull it across and create another tail. Okay, so you have your two tails. Pull it in again. Go out a bit. Another tail. And tuck it back in. Okay. Next, we're going to go back in here again and connect these two lines so that we have kind of our circular innards of the rose. Okay, so you're connecting those two lines. This is your circle. And let's connect the rest of the bulb here. Okay, so your first two. Obviously the lines are a little bit out there, but you're going to fix it with shading anyway, so don't worry until we start shading. Okay, so we have our bulb. We're going to add our external leaves. So I'm going to start, kind of pull this out. Okay. And then dip it back in, so you're making another one of those little tails. I'm not going to go all the way in. I'm going to hold it because we're going to add another leaf here. And connect it. And keep adding leaves. Or sorry, not leaves, petals. So I started it, and I'm going to bring this over. So I like starting a petal and then connecting it afterwards so I know better where it's going to be situated. Okay, I'm going to connect. Okay, so that's the base of your basic rose. And from here you can add leaves. So we'll add leaves just to show. So the rule usually for art is you want to do things in threes. It just kind of balances it better. So we're gonna go, let's put one here. So you're going to put lines in them just so you know those are leaves and not petals. Okay, so I like to start with shading lightest and then going dark. A little bit different with charcoal, but once we get the smudging in, it'll change what it looks like and become more defined. So I'm just going to sharpen this a bit. It's also very messy, so if you are sharpening, don't wipe it off. Just blow it off or wave it off, so otherwise it'll smudge everywhere. Okay, so let's start with our basic light shedding. So you're just going to go really lightly because you're going to add your darker tones. And I'm pulling out because that's the shape of the leaf. If you're using a reference photo, if there are white parts, just don't shade them in at all. So for here we have some white in our reference photo on the edge, so I'm not even touching that area. I mean, you can always erase it after, I'll show you how to do that, but I'm going to pause for a second just because if you do notice you made a mistake, use your kneaded eraser. You can dab it or you can wipe it. Just be careful with wiping because you can just pull across more charcoal. So I like to dab. With the beginner's rose, what we're going to do is we are going to outline the outsides a little bit darker, just so you know where those lines are. So once you start shading, you start to lose lines a bit, just, yeah, go in and make those a little bit darker. Okay, so we did the basic undertone with 2B. I'm going to move straight to 6B. If you want, you can go use your 4B because it's the medium tone, but because we're blending, I'm just going to go straight to the 6B. This one's also getting a little bit dull. Okay, so again, with our reference photo, certain areas are dark and shaded where other areas are hitting the light more or receiving more light. So just based on the reference photo that I'm using, I'm just going to add dark where I see dark. If you decide to keep doing roses in the future, do the same thing. Wherever you see those dark tones, add them there, and so on and so forth. So I am also going to leave room where the light is, like, because otherwise I have to go erase it. I mean, the worst thing is that you have to erase it, but you're not probably going to get the full charcoal off because it is pretty sticky. So I'm going to leave some room where it is lighter. And I'm just lightening up my pencil when I'm pulling outwards so that you get the tonal balance and change. And on our reference photo, it goes dark along the edge and then kind of does an upside down V shape, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, so you can already see your dark tones are coming in. We're going to get that shadow underneath the bulb. And leaving that white space there. Okay, so I'm not going to use this one from the package because it's new and shiny. I have an old one. I actually don't really like using smudge sticks because, so I'll just show you, when you go in, you can see it makes it a little bit more gray, where I find that if you use your finger, the oils help the charcoal stick better. So that's what smudging looks like with your smudge stick. It's kind of pushing it around. I'm going to go in and use my finger. A little bit messy, so do not wipe charcoal on your clothes. It comes out, but not always. Okay, so I am pulling into the white part a little bit, just for the purpose of showing how to take out that white with the eraser. So you do not want to pull your eraser, you want to dab. So when I dab, I'm bringing in that highlight. Okay, as you can see on the eraser, it's going to pick up the charcoal. So the nice thing about kneaded erasers is you just keep kneading it. It's clean again, so I can take it a little bit more. So you have your shadow and contour. You can clean up more. I would recommend just cleaning up after because, oh, see, I didn't dab it and it smudged. There. Okay, so we're going to do that exact technique around the rose. So like how I'm doing is looking at the reference photo. This is basically your reference photo. So just follow along where you see it darker shaded and where you see the light highlights. Still using the 6B pencil, your charcoal pencil. So here you can see we have dark on dark. So I'm just going to go a little bit lighter and darken up this leaf, just so you can actually see that they're separated. Okay, so we're in the middle. So this is going to be your kind of darkest point because this is the middle of the rose. So I'm going to go really dark tones and then a little bit of medium inside, but mostly dark. I lost a little bit of the tail, but and so usually where your petal's coming out, it's going to be darker, right? Just based on that's the light can't get there. So as you get out further, your petals are going to start to get lighter because they are receiving more light. So I don't actually have to shade them too much. And again, just because this is a beginner rose and we're not doing the crazy amount of shading all the way on the outside, I'm outlining it. So I wouldn't usually do that with the more advanced roses. You're gonna shade the whole part. We're doing it because this is a beginner rose. Okay, so we're basically there. Because we're not going too crazy with the shading, like I said. So now that we have our darker tones, our lighter tones, you can see there's some light that we left there. You can go in and take out, kind of dab out any external. And then if you want more light in places, so if you want more light up there, we're dabbing. Another highlight here. Okay, and then if you want to do the leaves, I would just go back to a 2B pencil because it's lighter. And because your leaves would go out from the center, I'm going to pull out your pencil strides outwards, just like it would on a leaf. It's almost like a V. And then, just for the purpose of highlighting a bit, I'm just going to go in and redo those lines. Okay, so that is the beginner rose. Your tones can be darker, lighter. I was always told I don't have dark enough tones for shading, so yeah, you can go on and add where you want. You can also shade your whole background if you have the time to black, and it'll really make your rose pop. So that is the beginner rose.